Talk about one of our favourite subjects, sleep. How to get more of it. The Sleep Charity is calling on the government to introduce a national strategy which would highlight the importance of getting the rest we need, also help those with insomnia, sleep apnea. Our reporter Tim Muffet has spoken to one man who's struggled with sleep for years.
So this is the sound of you sleeping?
Yeah.
John has a condition called sleep apnea.
What did your wife think?
She's not a fan.
Sleep apnea is a disorder in which breathing stops and starts during sleep. The airway becomes blocked, sufferers often wake up suddenly. Loud snoring is a classic symptom.
So some people might think the sound of snoring is the sound of a good night's sleep.
No, absolutely not. When you have the snoring sound, your airways are blocking, you're not getting enough oxygen, increasing the chance of stroke, heart attack, all sorts of things.
It's pretty loud.
Yeah, but you can hear that's where the blocks occur.
And for John, getting to sleep in the first place has been a problem since he was a teenager.
I'd always put it down to the fact that I have a stammer, and it was the anxieties around speaking to people the following day. But about 6 years ago, I learned to control my speech, but still those sleepless nights, the waking up, they kept happening.
So it's about 12:30, 1:45-ish. No signs of sleep and starting to get a bit worried.
If I have a really bad run, I have to take time off work because I just can't physically function enough.
John was disappointed by the support offered by his local health authority.
All they offer is recommendation to lose weight. I don't think I fall into that category. Or CPAP.
A CPAP machine blows air through a mask. It helps some people with sleep apnea, but not John. He's now travelling from the West Midlands to a hospital in London for treatment there.
It's very frustrating. It's a real postcode lottery.
A manifesto for sleep has now been published by health experts. It calls for a national sleep strategy. The report says sleep is underappreciated and misunderstood. Poor sleep, it says, has become normalised, with almost 70% of people with sleep issues yet to seek support.
There's huge risks to people's physical and mental health. So we know that those that are sleeping poorly are taking more high-risk behaviours, so driving while sleepy, making poor choices around nutrition, around physical activity.
Dr. Sarah Gilchrist has advised top athletes on sleep. She backs a national sleep strategy.
The UK loses about 40 billion a year due to sleep-related issues, whether that's people having accidents at work or they're just getting bugs more often. Their immune system's compromised because they're sleeping poorly. So where have things got to now then?
Its backers say the sleep strategy should mean sleep advice becomes a key part of all health campaigns in England, with more training for GPs and treatment available in every NHS trust.
There's potentially millions of people at risk of accidents at work or car accidents and things. And if it's not diagnosed quickly, obviously those chances of something happening increases.
Tim Muffet, BBC News.
So we're going to talk more about this now to people who know either side of the story in a way. Jason Ellis is a professor of sleep science at Northumbria University. Welcome to you, Jenny Benjamin. You, Jenny, have had insomnia for how long?
Oh, probably since I was about 18, 19, although at the time I didn't really recognise that it was insomnia.
So this has been basically throughout your adult life?
All of my adult life,
And how does that manifest itself? Talk me through what an average sleep pattern is for you.
Well, right now I'm actually sleeping reasonably well, so I am an insomniac that is getting some sleep. But in the past, on numerous occasions, so it tends to come in like batches really, but I would have one bad night's sleep, like most people can have one bad night's sleep, but then I start worrying very quickly about the next night's sleep, and then the next night's sleep. And the more I worry, the more the anxiety kicks in, and the less likely I am to sleep.
And just fill in the picture, if you don't mind. When you talk about a bad night's sleep, what is that?
For me, I have trouble getting off to sleep. So I can do all the right things in the evening, relax, have herbal teas, don't drink, read a little bit, but then I can start lying awake. And I try not to watch the clock, but the clock will be ticking on.
And would you have nights where you pretty much don't sleep
I
at all?
have had nights in the past where I haven't slept at all.
And what's the impact of that on your day?
Well, it's...
I'm assuming, like, when you were 18, maybe you were studying,
Yeah,
or you were working.
It wasn't so bad when I was younger. I did worry about being able to do exams well. But when I moved into work and I was having these bad nights' sleep, I'd start to worry about not being on the ball the next day. I worked in a corporate environment for a long time, and it was reasonably competitive, and I was very conscientious, wanted to do a good job. And I felt like I couldn't do a good job because I was so tired.
Could you say, I haven't slept, or was that not...
Yeah.
You know, because it's quite a difficult environment.
Yeah.
It's like, if you say, I haven't slept, people are like...
Yeah. So if you say you haven't slept, you get a lot of people saying, oh, well, I only got about 5 hours last night. And you think, I've had about 2.
Yeah.
But it's not just the not sleeping, it's the anxiety that comes with it as well.
Jason, do you want to pick up on some of this with your expertise? You're a professor of sleep science. This figure of 9 in 10 adults experiencing sleep problems.
Yep.
Do you think that sounds about right?
Sadly, it does sound about right. We've got an awful lot of people who are undiagnosed. Sleep is a very interesting topic anyway, and it speaks to what Jenny was talking about. We've got terms like you snooze, you lose. I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's that machismo society underpinned by the fact that we don't have an agenda around sleep. We have one about diet, we've got one about exercise, but we have nothing really that underpins good sleep.
What's an agenda around sleep? What does that look like? Because we know, you know, 5 a day, eat well, exercise when you can, don't smoke, don't drink alcohol to excess, etc.
So that's the challenging thing. We need to talk about how much sleep do we need? And that's quite individual.
But everyone's different, aren't they?
But we do have general guidelines. So adults, for example, 7 to 9 we would see as normal. 6 to 10 could be normal. Generally, when we're talking less than 6 or more than 10, that's indicative of a potential problem. So it's talking about duration, quality, the things that we should and shouldn't be doing, but it's really about valuing sleep.
I'm quite interested in the anxiety aspect of it, because lots of people now have these watches where they examine... Right, so tell me, because I don't know if I'm convinced, and I know someone who cheats her watch. You know, she'll kind of really calm down to make sure that if she wakes up, it's because she's competitive and wants, you know, to show that she's got good sleep. What do you think about this?
I do have one of those watches. I've got one of those watches and I use it to keep an eye on how well I'm exercising. I won't wear it for sleep.
Why?
I don't believe it really works for sleep. I don't want to count the hours. I don't want to be focused on exactly how many hours I'm lying still in bed. I don't feel they're all that accurate. Maybe they are, or some of the newer ones would be.
You're smiling.
But I don't want to focus on how many hours I get. I used to focus on it, but I don't anymore.
Well, we're seeing a whole group of people now coming to us with what we would call orthosomnia. And this is where people are checking and checking and checking and becoming obsessed with the number. They're not obsessed with the quality, they're obsessed with the number. I'm actually having people now come into clinic and say, I got 6 hours, I'm going to die. I say, well, take it off. It works beautifully well if you take it off. This is the challenge. They can be great as well-being devices, but when we start using them for diagnosis, when we start to look at it as a benchmark of how we're doing, probably not the best idea.
We pitched to some of our audience to just ask questions about sleep. As you'll be well aware, it's a marker. Everybody has a story about their sleep. So a couple of these for you. Donna got in touch saying she hasn't slept more than 3 hours a night for 7 years. No energy, and says her life is at a standstill. And then this one from Michelle, 58 years old. Last time she had a proper night's sleep was before she had her children in 1991. She sleeps a maximum of 4 hours a night. She's tried natural remedies with no luck. I mean, where people turn, don't they, I guess, to various things. In your experience, I know it's individual, so it's impossible for you to diagnose things. But is there a pattern to try to go to that might help? There's got to be people listening to you right now thinking, well, he's an expert. What do I do tonight?
I think it's important that if there's any change in your sleep, whether it's quantity, quality or timing, the best thing to do is go and get that checked out. Now, that underpins part of the issue around the sleep charities position is that we don't have that embedded nature around sleep in primary care, for example. But if you do see a change in your sleep rapidly, it does indicate there's going to be a change in physical, psychological, emotional, or even financial health. So it's about getting a proper assessment and getting the pathway to the proper tools.
Can we talk about sleep apnea as well? Because at the moment we've spoken about anxiety and the stress and, you know, that whole lying awake at night thinking, when am I going to sleep? When am I feel you. But sleep apnea is very different because that is a physical emanation that actually wakes you up.
Yes. So the main difference between insomnia and apnea, insomnia, I've got difficulty getting off to sleep, staying asleep, waking up too early in the morning. Apnea is different in the sense it's a partial cessation of breathing during the night. But what happens is you'll come out of sleep, albeit very briefly, and then go back to sleep because your body needs to breathe. The challenge with that is a lot of people with apnea don't know they've got apnea. They'll just feel incredibly tired because those awakenings that they have during the night when they're breathing, they're very, very small.
Is that when the watch is useful then?
It could be if they were sensitive enough to it, and we can program certain ones to measure apnea, but we really need to be mindful of getting a proper test.
It's really interesting. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing your story this morning. And, Professor, everyone will be glued to what you've been saying. You've got a voice that I think would help people. I don't mean this in a bad way. It's a very calming voice, is what I'm saying. Not sending you to sleep, it's a very calming voice. Do you think? You agree?
Yes, I'm glad that we've met.
Yes, because you two had a chat last night, didn't you?
You could get him to read you, like, a passage from a really boring textbook or something, couldn't you?
One of my own. That will put anyone to sleep, believe me.
Yeah.
Good to see you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.